So now we're going to look at pivot tables. Pivot tables deals with the analysis of transactional data. When I say transactional data, I mean data such as that which you're seeing on the screen at the moment. So here we have a company who sell computer training, and they have salespeople, Alison, Bob, Carla, and so on. And they sell different types of courses, so Excel, PowerPoint, Word. There's a price for each day of training. And here we've noted in each transaction the number of days training sold for that particular type of training by that salesperson. And here we have the total value of that training for each transaction. So in this case, it's 1 multiplied by €500. And we've also recorded who that training was sold to. Here it was ZYX company. So each of these rows, so row 4, 5, 6, and 7, and so on, represent one transaction. Now, on the screen, you can see that we have relatively few transactions, but it's possible that we could have thousands of these transactions. And what we want to do is have an easy way of analysing and understanding at a higher level how the company is doing. And this is where pivot tables comes in. So it allows you to analyse transactional data. Say, for example, we wanted to know how many days training each salesperson had sold and to what company. Well, the way we do that would be we would use a pivot table. And here's the way you do it. So you go to Insert, and you've got the option to put in a pivot table. So you just click on Pivot Table. Now what you're asked then with this pivot table message window is what data, select a table or a range of data that you want to analyze. So in this case, if you click into this little box here, we want to analyze all of this data here. Now the heading that says computer training sales is irrelevant to this information. What we want is all the headings on each of the columns and all the data which is underneath it. So that's the data we're going to analyze. Then you have the option to either put the pivot table into a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. It's usually cleaner to put into a new worksheet, so we'll do that. So I'll click New Worksheet and I'll say OK. Now you're brought into the pivot table worksheet. So you can see there's a new sheet down here. It's called Sheet 7. That's irrelevant. We can rename that later on. And we have over here on the right hand side, we have what I call the fields that the pivot table is going to use. Now those fields are merely the headings that we saw on the original data. So these are the fields. Now what I said was we wanted to look at which salesperson had sold how much to what customers. So we need to decide what information we need on the pivot table. So I said salesperson. Well, we want to see salesperson. So when I click on salesperson and select it, you'll notice that down here we have 4 quadrants: filters, columns, rows, and total values. Salesperson was put into a row, and you can see over on the spreadsheet here on the pivot table, all the salespeople are shown, one for each row. And now what we want to see is, we want to see, well, what customers did those people sell to? So we click on the customer field, and you notice that by default it goes down into the rows column, but into the rows part of the matrix. But we actually want to see the customers in columns, so I can click and drag the customer up onto the columns. And now we see we have the salespeople in rows, and we have the companies in columns. Well, what information do we want to see in the center of this table? What we want to see is how much money each salesperson sold to each company. So what we do is we select the total value sold. And now you see that, for example, Alison sold €500 to ZYX company, and her grand total was 500. Down here we see that Dave sold 1,000 worth of value to ABC company, and that's his total sales, and so on. So this is a quick way of analyzing the information. Now down here you notice that you can drag things around. So if, for example, you want the salesperson to be on the column and you want the customer to be on the row, you just drag them around and it'll change the order on the pivot table. That's a basic introduction to pivot tables. Next thing we're going to look at is pivot table charts. Thank you.